He is Adrian Wojnarowski here on the Rich Eisen Show. I appreciate you finding time for us when your phone's probably blowing up, Adrian. Thanks for joining.
Rich, thanks for having me.
No, you bet. So let's start. What's happening in Cleveland, Adrian, right now? Who's answering the phones in Cleveland for any trades or making them?
Assistant general manager in Cleveland, Kobe Altman, is manning the phones for them. There's still some executives left in the front office, but Kobe Altman, who's well-respected assistant GM there, is running the show in the interim. As we reported yesterday, Chauncey Billups is Dan Gilbert's number one target to become the new president. He would potentially hire a general manager of his own. He's meeting with Dan Gilbert today, and so that's a possibility there that if that process moves along, they could have new leadership in place relatively quickly.
So how would LeBron feel about that, I guess, is the question.
That's uncertain. That remains to be seen. I think he had a great deal of respect for David Griffin. Obviously, they had a lot of success together. Dan Gilbert's relationship with most of his GMs sort of deteriorates over time, and I think they just see things differently going forward there. And he made the change. Never offered Griffin a new contract. His current deal expires at the end of the week. So that will be a question going forward of how they restructure a front office with LeBron heading into, once again, his free agency next summer.
Well, I mean, should Cavs fans, in your estimation, be concerned here, Adrian? I mean, this is a crucial 48-hour, 72-hour period. I don't need to tell you. I'm sure.
Yes, Cavs fans, Rich, should absolutely be concerned. This is the kind of upheaval that, especially with an executive in David Griffin, who's well respected around the league, who's not only done a good job in Cleveland, but did a good job in his time in Phoenix and was part of a lot of success there, and so really built a really good front office, really good underlings with him in Cleveland who were in demand around the league. So that's not easily replaceable. And if it is Chauncey Billups, who I think has all the characteristics you need to be a very good NBA executive, who he potentially hire as his general manager is certainly very important, because no matter how good your instincts are, that is a very difficult situation to be learning on the job, and to have to make some really key decisions that would impact their future, impact LeBron James's future in Cleveland very quickly. So there's no question that this is a telltale time for that whole organization.
Adrian Wojnarowski of Yahoo Sports joining us here, no doubt with many windows open in front of him, phones and computers, and plugged in like nobody else right now here on the Rich Eisen Show. Kristaps Porzingis is on the block as we're currently sitting here having a conversation. That's happening?
Well, yeah, I reported this morning that Phil Jackson is contemplating the possibility of moving Kristaps Porzingis. He is the team and Porzingis have not spoken since the end of the season. Porzingis left. He skipped his exit meeting, frustrated with what he feels is the continual dysfunction and upheaval within the organization. Went home to Latvia, has been in Europe this summer, and the Knicks have not been in contact with him. And Phil Jackson, as I reported, met with Lauri Markkanen from Arizona, who's a comparable player, 7-foot jump shooting, not the prospect that Porzingis is, but met with him last night in New York, had dinner. They're thinking about Markkanen at number 8 in the draft. If they were to move Porzingis, they see Markkanen as a potential replacement. They are not engaged in any serious conversations that I'm aware of around the league on Porzingis right now, but teams are calling. There's a frenzy of interest in Porzingis around the league. Teams are calling the Knicks. They're trying to find a way to get a deal done for him before, maybe before ownership or somebody else gets involved here. It would be a wildly unpopular move and a tremendously risky move. A player of Porzingis' talent, it just doesn't come along. If there's one thing Phil Jackson's done right in New York, it was drafting Kristaps Porzingis. He's 21 years old, and the idea of moving him this quickly is shocking to the rest of the league, but Jackson is thinking about it.
Well, I mean, so what's the plan? What would the plan be? Is to start from scratch with somebody who buys into what Phil wants to do, and Dolan keeps buying into Phil? I mean, seriously, like what would the plan be to take a purple unicorn like him at age 21 and flip him for more young players?
I can't. I mean, Rich, I can't begin to explain it or understand it. If it's because Phil wants compliance with his players, there's no more like team-oriented, goal-driven, hard-working, everything you'd want in a player Porzingis gives you. Just cares about all the things you want a player to care about, and loves being in New York, loves playing for the Knicks, doesn't want to leave. And that's what's so perplexing about this. This isn't a player who doesn't want to be there. This is a player who desperately wants to be there, but only wants that there becomes that the dysfunction goes away there, which has been you have a coach and an owner, or excuse me, a coach and a general manager who is a coach in Jeff Hornacek who's being asked to run a triangle system that he doesn't know well. Players don't want to play in it, and even Porzingis has been fine, but let's stay with something. And so it's perplexing, and there's no question that there are a lot of teams, virtually the entire league, would love to be opportunistic here and steal Kristaps Porzingis out of New York. And that's the kind of trade that I don't know how you could recover from it. I don't know how you could get value for him. He's that unique of a talent.
Adrian Wojnarowski, a few more minutes from Yahoo Sports, The Vertical, joining me here. And the first few moments of our conversation, Adrian, I would not have been asking you about had I been setting my interview list, my question list about 24 hours ago. Things are moving
changes fast.
So fast. So what is the latest on Paul George, a story you broke over the weekend?
Indiana is still soliciting offers around the league. They're still in sort of the info gathering stage. I was just told moments ago, not close on anything, although those are always famous last words when something happens in 20 minutes. But as of right now, as of literally before we get on the phone, they're still sifting through, who's really serious, who's not, who's just sort of dabbling in this. I do think Indiana would like to find a deal by the draft, but it's possible they won't. And then maybe July 1, the start of free agency, is the next, I wouldn't say self-imposed deadline, but the next date that you might want to have something done by. But I think it's possible that something could get done between now and Thursday. It's just that because teams are aware that George wants to go to the Lakers, it really has dulled the market for him, because teams don't want to give up a great deal, whether it's young players, whether it's draft picks. They don't want to give up a lot for a player they feel very likely is going to be a rental just this season and then he's going to leave. But there's a few teams who potentially think maybe we could flip George. Maybe he'll love playing here. We can convince him to stay, and it's worth something of a risk. And so that's what teams are measuring as they're calling in. Everybody has interest in Paul George, but how much do they want to give up? And Indiana's working hard to create a market, create a bidding process that can get them the most return for him.
And what's the Celtics plan? And I asked this in a multi-layered way. The fact that they don't go Fultz, does that mean that they're going to re-sign Isaiah Thomas? What do they do with all of these first-round selections that they have this year and beyond?
Well, these picks, it's an arsenal that they have to either continue drafting players or to use in a big trade, to use to go get an established star player. So that's the mindset they've been in over the last few years, of balancing using the picks versus maybe using a bunch of them to go get a star who becomes available. I think their goal is to re-sign Isaiah Thomas. I don't think it'll be this summer. It'll probably be next summer. They have their salary cap space. They need to create a little bit more to be able to bring in potentially Gordon Hayward from Utah, who's really their number one target in free agency. Blake Griffin's a secondary target for them. But I think right now, and I think they may continue to dabble with Jimmy Butler and see what Chicago's asking price for Butler remains very, very high. And if you're Boston, you say, we could, Hayward's a free agent. If we think we can get him, we'll just sign him into our space. We don't have to give anything up. So lots of contingencies in Boston, and all those draft picks they have allow them to have a lot of freedom to look at lots of different kinds of deals or acquisitions.
Couple more questions for you. In your conversations and all your spade work, just list the teams for me that you think are doing work right now, next couple of days, next month, to do battle with the Warriors next season. Who is saddling up to try and beat that super team right now and hit the win it now button, Adrian?
I don't. I think teams like Toronto, if they re-sign Kyle Lowry, Serge Ibaka, if the Clippers can try to keep together Chris Paul and Blake Griffin, those are teams that I don't think necessarily the expectation of those teams are, if we keep everybody together, we're going to win it, but they're trying to contend. The thing with the Paul George market, and it gets back to this, there might be a team, if this was another year and the Warriors didn't exist in their super team state that they do, if they just weren't such a unique phenomenon, there might be more teams willing to go all in on 1 year on Paul George because they think he could get us over the top. I don't think there's now, other than Cleveland, who really would like Paul George but needs a third team to do it, I don't think there's a team outside of Cleveland who really believes if you give us Paul George, we can beat Golden State. And so that has, I think, made the market less frenzied for Paul George because you've got to keep looking at the long view. If you're running a team right now, you almost have to wait the Warriors out in some ways. And but that doesn't mean teams aren't trying. They're not trying to get better. But I don't think there's anybody out there who thinks, hey, we're one player away from beating them. I don't. I haven't spoken to that team.
Ask Adrian the poll question before you send him out the door, Brockman.
Yeah, Adrian, who is LeBron James playing for in the 2018-2019 season? Cleveland?
Yeah, you know what? I don't want to make a prediction.
Okay.
I mean, I think he's going to be a free agent. I think that the West Coast does intrigue him. I think if he were to leave Cleveland, I do think the Lakers is something he'd look at. But so much can change between now and then. It always does, and how players look at everything. And but there's no question about this. Cleveland is very concerned about the possibility of him leaving, and that's why that doesn't answer why they let David Griffin go. But
no, we're doing a heck of a job.
They know that this is an issue, and they know that it's a possibility. But I don't pretend to know the future.
All right. What time could people tune in for your live draft show on Thursday?
Yeah, our draft show on thevertical.com on Yahoo Sports, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. On draft night, we'll have all the picks first, trades, great analysis. Tom Crean, former Indiana coach, will be on again this year, and we've got a good group to cover the draft in its whole on Thursday.
Well, congrats on everything once again, Adrian. You are the clear leader in news and information on this front. So thanks again for calling in and sticking with us as long as you did. You got it.
Thanks, Rich.
You got it. That's Adrian Wojnarowski of Yahoo Sports.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on radio stations across the country and audience.
If you liked some of that, get some more of that on the Rich Eisen Show app. Follow all the information you see right here on the Rich Eisen Show.